This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday stream. The stream I do on Sundays because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's a little overcast out right now, which I appreciate because that means it's not going to necessarily be oppressingly hot, which I don't particularly enjoy, as I am a creature of rain and fog by nature. But either way, good morning. Yes, so we are going to dive once again into a National Industry Association self-congratulatory DEI thing, because why not? Previously, we looked at the International Air Transport Association, and this time I came across let me see if I get this right, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. Now, this little symposium of theirs took place in May, so it was just a month or so before the landmark decision regarding affirmative action. So I'd hoped to find something that was taking place after that to see what might be said about it, but not yet. All the presentations I found, I was looking for a panelist because like, what are diversity consultants and experts and officers saying about it now? What do they have to say about everything now? But it seemed like everything I found, even though it was posted like within the last week, the actual event itself took place months or even a year ago. And it just, but anyway, this is the closest to that. And also it's a part of the world, at least in business and professionalism, that I don't think I've looked at before: insurance and financial advisors. I've looked at banks before and financial institutions, but this just felt different somehow. So I'll get to that in a moment. But first, who's joining me this morning? This beautiful Sunday morning. Old Guy Gamer, good morning. Dax Orion, good morning. Funtime Bats, good morning. Mike R, good morning. Noah Asensio, good morning. Keeverdam, good morning. Who else here? TFA Oryx, good morning. Somnamnul Nation, good morning. Robert Pincus, good morning. SWD40, good morning. Lurking Gopher, good morning. Liesel7, good morning. Let's see. Advocatus Diaboli, good morning. Ostsand, good morning. The Original Shroom, good morning. Otho May, good morning. Scanner Daphne, good morning. Derek LaRue, good morning, and thank you so much, as always, for your continued patronage and generosity. Thank you, Derek LaRue, so much, as always. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a good Sunday morning. Dina B, good morning. And I think that's everybody I see. If I missed you, if you're lurking, not necessarily a lurking gopher, but I'll take it, or if you're in the future, good morning. All right. So yes, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. So a little note before we begin. Everybody in this panel is on the same stage at the same event, but you wouldn't know it by some of the audio. Now, I haven't listened to this in any meaningful way, but I am aware that microphone to microphone, the sound quality shifts like we're watching a Zoom call. Now, insofar as some people's microphones apparently were much quieter than others, I have done my best to boost the audio during and in those sections where the audio seemed to drop out the most, to raise the volume. Now, whether or not that also raises the clarity, because I did, in the little bits that I did listen to, I did detect some muffling of the voices. I don't know that I can fix that. I might not be able to do anything about it except sort of try to translate if I can understand what they're saying. I know, not the greatest sales pitch for the start of a stream, but I kind of found that out at the last minute. I didn't realize, because you listen to the first like 5 or 6 seconds to just get a sense of what the sound quality is and like, oh, that sounds great. Then you take a look at the actual audio file and see all the peaks and valleys of the audio, and you go like, why is it all of a sudden almost flat line in places? Oh, somebody's microphone is lousy. What can I do about that? So that's what I did. I boosted the audio in some spots that seemed like it needed it, but the end result, I couldn't tell you. So I guess we'll find out together, and it'll be fun, right? This is fun. Thank you, Lady Gopher, for the how's it going, Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wow wee. Wow wow.
That is a tailed featured Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Lady Gopher. Hope you're having a good morning. Stolka, good morning. Meh, good morning. Did I miss anybody else? I hope not. All right. Smoonie the Rebel, good morning. There you are. And Mike Savage, blarg. All right, so with that as all preamble, let's get into it. The National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This is their 8th annual DEI symposium, and they're here to represent. Now, this thing goes for just over 30 minutes. I'm going to go for an hour and a half in real time, unless there is some compelling reason to go further. And with that, all this preamble, let's begin.
All right, welcome, champions. So,
welcome, champions. If I start singing the song, I have a feeling I'm going to get copyright struck. So I'll just imply. Think about a song about champions in your head. Think of a very famous refrain. Welcome, champions. Oh, they got the Roman columns and everything too. Oh my gosh.
So in fact, we have been doing this program for quite a few years. It started at the second DEI symposium, but each year we have been giving the award out at different events.
Oh, this is an award ceremony? Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, the last one we did, the International Air Transport Association, that was also an award ceremony. Are we going to have? Boy, I honestly had no idea. Oh, we got names and everything. Oh, everybody's a diversity champion. Oh, they're all past recipients. Oh, I see. Wow. Okay, so Evelyn Geller. I can't get all the business names. Brian Haney. Aprilyn Chavez Geisler, Stephen Kagawa, and Chris Gandy. And I'm guessing there wasn't a 2021 champion because of certain global health concerns. Otherwise, we have the full range of past award recipients. Wow, I got a whole bunch of experts here. Okay. And there, let's see, we got CEO, Executive Vice President, CEO, and something director. Okay.
Now standardize it to the National Leadership Conference.
Uh-huh.
This is the first time we've actually had the whole row of champions together, with the exception of Chad Cooper, who couldn't make it. So.
Oh, okay. Now, I realize, again, this is just an artifact of the sound quality of the presentation, I guess. I can understand what she's saying. It's obviously a little muffled. That's after me boosting the audio quite a bit. Can you guys understand what she's saying in this instance? Because if we reach a point where the audio is incomprehensible, I might just have to call it early or something, because I'm not going to either put myself or anybody else through totally incoherent broadcast. So if at any point, and I'll know it too, but I'll probably end up asking more questions about this as things go.
Everybody, another round of applause for them. Okay. And a quick reminder that nominations are open for the 2023 DEI Champion of the Year.
Oh, good.
So a couple of things we're going to note here. So one of the pieces when we were putting this DEI symposium together is we had a lot of conversation about DEI and should we use these words anymore? Should we use a different name?
Why?
Because they've become so weaponized.
No, it's not that they become weaponized, but in very short order from the advent of this symposium, they would become legally questionable
in the last couple of years. And we wanted to address that kind of head on. And so for NAFA, DEI, when it was first put into place in the 2020 strategic plan, and then again in the 2025 strategic plan, was really about workforce development.
No, you can, okay. You can call it whatever you want, right? It's the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So obviously it is what it is because of those words. Workforce development, you're not talking about cross-training. You're not talking about professional development. You're never going to get away from the D in DEI. I'm sorry. Discrimination. You're never going to get away from it. You can change it all you want. It's not going away.
And so one of the things we wanted to do today is kind of return to that, the original intent. So we are all very clear what NAEFA is doing.
We're all trying to alter our language so ahead of the Supreme Court decision that might completely make unconstitutional the diversity argument for discrimination in the workplace, we're going to start changing terms. Because as soon as the Supreme Court rules on that, anything that happened before the decision might be legally safe. Anything that happens after is suspect.
And talk about workforce development and specifically marketplace development.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about DEI. We're going to talk about workforce development and marketplace development. Okay, all right, tell you what. Fine. You've waved your hand. The magic words have been spoken. What does workforce development involve? What are the goals of workforce development? If all you're changing is the coat of paint, I think the structure underneath is still the same, right?
And so the first question we're going to talk to with the champions here is talking about marketplaces, right? Underserved, underrepresented, and then why this group of illustrious NAEFA members here have become chosen to be champions because of the work they've done in their respective marketplaces.
Okay, so again, we're just going to change terms. We're shifting chairs on the Titanic. All right, gotcha. So nothing's changed except you're scared of the words because they become weaponized. Why would you want to give in to your enemies? Why would you want to retreat from those who would criticize you? Why aren't you proud of the work that you've done and are doing? If you mean what you say when you say diversity, equity, and inclusion, if that's actually what your goals are, if you know you stand by those words and what you think they mean, why cower? Why cower against criticism?
So I'm going to go down kind of the row, and I'm going to start with our rookie here, our 2022 newest diversity champion, Chris Gandy, and talk about your specific marketplace and how people can develop their marketplace and what your marketplace is and how that fits in with your DEI initiative personally.
Oh, you said DEI. No. Professional development, marketplace development, PDMD. Okay, PDMD. That's what we have to go for now. Let's practice PDMD.
Okay, so since I'm the rookie, I think I'm the tallest, though.
Yes, I'm the shortest. So.
So first and foremost, it's an honor to be here representing DEI and also being the. I'll pass the gavel to someone this year as the diversity champion. So I know we're limited on time, but I'm going to speak to the African American space.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just take off my headphones and go have a drink or something.
So one of the key things for me is working in the African American space is going back and dealing with education. So financial literacy becomes super important because
everyone should be financially literate, not just specific demographics. Okay.
If I took my situation, the way in which I don't never remember ever anyone coming into my home, sitting down with my mother, ever saying to her that I'm going to be here to help you take care of your family and educate your kids.
I'm going to be here to take care of your family and educate your kids. I don't remember anybody doing that in my family. My parents kind of had that responsibility. I mean, insofar as, making sure I was in school and that kind of thing as far as the education part. But of course, I learned things from my parents as well. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something.
I don't ever remember that happening. And so I went through my family and I started asking questions along those lines of, okay, I have 7 uncles and 6 aunts, by the way. And so I asked them questions of that similar presence of, do you know anyone? Did anyone ever come to your house, sit down with you and to teach you or to show you or give you access to these products? They said, we heard about them at work. We heard about some things, but we did no, that didn't happen.
What? Okay, well, maybe I'm living in a different dimension. I never had anybody show up at my house just unbidden to teach my family about quote unquote these things. I know at one point my parents solicited someone to help with our investments and financing because they took it on their own initiative to ask for that, and someone came out, that kind of thing. They called a number kind of deal. But just show up at your doorstep and say, hey, we're here to offer free finance. I mean, I wouldn't be against the idea, right? If we had some kind of like roving educational program for people in general, not just specific racial demographics, of here, let me help your family with financial literacy or investment or basic investment knowledge or something like that, or here's a program or whatever, you know. But oftentimes you're going to have to take the initiative yourself to seek out those things. But no, is that what he's proposing? That like roving financial advisors door to door?
And vice versa. We were conditioned when we were younger is to go back and not really talk about money.
You were conditioned when you were younger not to talk about money. Okay. Also, good morning, Ercole Di Stefano and Maddie's House of Geek. And before I forget, and England DG, good morning. Before I forget, at the top of the chat box, everybody, there's a link there to a fundraiser for a friend of a friend, Twisted Skipster's friend, Tracy. Tracy is in need of a little bit of help because of some life circumstances that have befallen her. And if you can take a look at that and donate if you can. If you can't donate, that's perfectly fine. If you can, share that link out on social media. That would be appreciated. And then Bridget is here. Good morning, Bridget.
And so when the combination of those two things happens, when there's a lack of literacy, and then there's also the cultural norms that exist of not talking about money until someone else's dies. You know, there was a saying in our church that other people leave wills and black people leave bills.
Other people leave wills and black people leave bills. Okay.
Which was inherent in the community, and then you know, you say that and you're kind of like, wow.
Yeah, because only black people leave debt after they pass away. Okay. And all right, well, all of this as, I guess, preamble to something. What is it that you are proposing then? Or what is it that, what's the point?
Right. And you mean it because you see it so much. And so for me, it was not only my passion, but it was my desire to give back and to go back and educate individuals on the importance of having a solid foundation, the importance of understanding and unconditioning some of the things that they had learned naturally.
Okay, well, everything else aside, the idea of taking your knowledge and going back to your community or advocating for more financial literacy, you're not going to see me arguing against that. And if whatever drove him towards this goal, you know, even if it sounds a little iffy or exclusive or something, whatever, fine. Yes, financial literacy should be something that is focused on for everyone in this country from an early age, just in your personal management of your finances to long-term investments and otherwise. A lot of people would be a lot better off if they had just a little bit of a sense about their money and planning for the future. So on that score, I agree.
And then to do it differently. And to do it differently, you have a right to, you become empowered. And that's where that empowerment from our perspective comes from. And then not just doing it from that perspective, but also giving back to communities. And, you know, at the end of the day, the African-American community, the money that comes into it and leaves it doesn't have the boomerang effect.
Across the board, like a monolith as a rule. Okay, if you say so.
And I talk about that all the time, is that some communities, that's what happens. And
well, some communities apparently just split up on race. It's not that Okay.
I remember having this conversation, and then I'll pass the mic. But I remember having this conversation with one of my friends that super successful in Chicago, and he's from the Jewish community. He's a Synod's guy. And we're talking, and he goes, "Chris, I love that idea you were talking about." He goes, "But I got someone in my synagogue I could do that business with. Even though you brought it to me, it's a great idea." He goes, "I'm gonna do it in my community," which I was like, "Huh, interesting."
So wait. Was that a complaint? So you unless I'm completely misreading that, you start off by saying, I'm going to talk to this specific demographic, and I'm going to concern myself with this specific demographic, and I'm going to take what I've learned back to this specific demographic. And then you talk to somebody who then wants to keep his business with his specific demographic. And now, was that sarcasm? Did I miss something? I want to go back. Just a smidge.
And he goes, "Chris."
Hold on. Sorry, that wasn't far enough back. Let's go back a little bit.
I'll pass the mic. But I remember having this conversation with one of my friends that super successful in Chicago, and he's from the Jewish community. He's a Synod's guy. And we're talking, and he goes, "Chris, I love that idea you were talking about." He goes, "But I got someone in my synagogue I could do that business with. Even though you brought it to me, it's a great idea." He goes, "I'm gonna do it in my community," which I was like, "Huh, interesting." And so I thought about it. I said, "Why are we not doing that for us?" So
why are we not doing that for us? So what? So either he's complaining about it or he's promoting the segregation of financial involvement. What? Why can't we do that for us? Okay, I'm not quite sure how to interpret any of that. I'm not quite sure why the guy's religion was relevant to that, or his ethnicity. Could be one, both, or the other. But okay.
anytime there is we get business or we do business with anybody that is of an African American descent or minority descent, we give back 20 cents on every dollar that comes into our agency. We give it back to organizations that support those.
Oh, okay. So you provide a racial preference in financial advantage. Anytime you do business with somebody based on their skin color, then you'll provide an extra benefit on the side. But if somebody you do business with does not share your same skin color, there's no advantage. There's no benefit. Did I? Oh, this is it never ceases to amaze me. Onwards of 7 years of looking at these things, and it never ceases to amaze me, just the absolute blatant and blunt discrimination, racial preference that business leaders are willing to just shout out into the ether on a stage in public as though it were a perfectly good thing. Imagine if the next person down the line, right, says the exact same. Actually, just imagine if. Don't even do that. Just flip the racial demographic. What if our speaker was white? What if he was saying that about white clients or white business owners, and to the exclusion of anybody else on the basis of their race? What do you think the reaction of the panel would be? What do you think the reaction of the audience would be? Is there a principle here or isn't there? Good gravy.
Those local places. And that's intentional because I'm the CEO of the group, so that's the deal. Okay,
so the buck stops with you. The racial discrimination and financial advantage begins and ends with you. Oh, okay, well, I mean, I at least appreciate his candor. But all the same, really, that's the lesson you want to put out there? Okay. Yeah.
Stephen, what about you?
Yeah, Stephen, how do you follow that? Boy, that is one act to follow. Go on, Stephen.
Yeah, I always feel like the alien on the stage when
Wait, what? Don't you know that's a bad word? That's a bad word, Stephen.
we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I come from Hawaii, and what marketplace am I in right now? I'm in I guess arguably I'm in the Asian marketplace. But it's why I say arguably is that I didn't know there was an Asian marketplace. In fact, I had to come to the mainland of the USA to understand the difference between what Orientals were and what Asians are.
This is amazing. I got to tell you, this is amazing. I go back to an oldie but a goodie. Where does the school board find them, and why do they send them to me? How is it that I keep alighting upon these absolute pots of gold?
And because someone asked me what I was, and I said, "What do you mean by that?" And they were talking about my ethnic background. I didn't put two and two together because in Hawaii we ask where you're from, and usually that means your high school. So I had no clue, and what came out of my mouth was Oriental, and then I got lectured by another American of Japanese ancestry, which I am, who told me that no, Orientals are rugs and things like that, and they
Okay. So another well-meaning Asian person corrected you on your language. This is amazing.
Asians are people. And I thought to myself, that's why we have a problem in the United States of America. And I've been on that ride forever, ever since, and I still on that. One of the biggest challenges I have probably with diversity, equity, and inclusion is the fact that I find myself polarized oftentimes. I visit the country of Japan because I have operations in 5 different countries. Japan's one of them. And I am a very red, white, and blue American. I judge everything from these red, white, and blue eyes. And I'm so shocked and dismayed by my American brothers and sisters who say the kinds of things that we say because of ignorance.
Okay, like what?
And so I carry this anger on a regular basis inside of me, and I have to learn from people like Chris Gandy and others on the stage that it's okay, that it's better for me to maybe share and learn and from each other and maybe teach at the same time.
What are you talking about? You ran into the political correctness climate of the country, and now what? I'm missing something. Also, again, for those of you that might be joining late, the sound quality. I mean, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors apparently can't afford a good sound system for their presentations because, man, it is muffled. And again, this is after me having boosted the audio to amazing degrees prior to broadcast. I can still mostly understand, even with the muffling, but I don't know what the other what the results will be of the other speakers. So
what I've learned along the way, and so I guess I sit here when we talk about marketplace because I know that's the question. Is that the other part is I'm 3rd generation in this business that didn't want to come to this business, and coming in Hawaii, think about it. 3rd generation means all your uncles and aunties and everybody else is in the business. That's how it was. So who are you going to do business with? And I realized
anybody who's a paying customer. I mean, unless you're Mr. Gandy, our first speaker, because then he gives a benefit depending on your skin color.
Actually, I was really benefited because I met a lot of single mothers who really saved my life because they taught me the value of what we do in this business and how underserved, if not fully served or unserved, those communities are, we just heard 29% are in poverty. And I've just taken that to a different place. And today I look at the world from country to country as being different.
Uh-huh.
And I want to navigate the world. I think we're globalized, and we should be able to do that. And I want to bring down the walls that keep us from being able to do that,
Uh-huh.
because of our differences, primarily of culture and how we look at things and how we speak the language and so on and so forth. And I could go on and on. I'm not going to do that.
Uh-huh.
But suffice it to say that here we are in the United States of America,
Yes.
a land of over 200 nations, and yet we're so homogenous in nature.
Well, no, we're a land of 50 states. We're not a land of 200 nations. I mean, people's origins or otherwise might be one thing, but no, this is one nation. Okay.
You know, even in our financial planning world, we're homogenous in nature.
In our financial planning world, we're homogenous in nature. Well, you could have fooled me by our first speaker telling us that financial planning and financial literacy wasn't anything that a particular racial demographic even thought about. Okay.
I have a partner who's my life partner. She is also a fellow NAFA. And
oh, so you're living in sin. I'm kidding.
MDRT member and so on and so forth. She's also a green card holder here in the United States.
Uh-huh.
And some of the life insurance companies that she represents allows her to sell the product, but won't allow her to buy it.
Okay, now that's messed up. If that's true, yeah, that's messed up.
So explain that to me.
I can't. That does seem silly. I don't know much about the insurance industry or what the. I mean, maybe there's some kind of federal restriction. I guess my question would be: is that due to company policy, or is that due to some clause or blockage in our immigration laws? Because I don't know.
As we sit here on the stage talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
No. Workplace development, marketplace development. Right? Workplace development, marketplace development. Or was it professional development? You know what I mean?
We got to look at ourselves and look at what we're doing and how we're doing things. What law in the world of the United States prohibits a person like that from getting it?
I don't know. Let's see. U.S. federal law, green card insurance. Let's see. Let's see. Coverage for lawfully present immigrants, healthcare.gov. Okay. Up, and then I pop up. Sorry, this is on a different tab. Pardon me. Let's see. If you're a lawfully present immigrant, you can buy private health insurance on the marketplace. You may be eligible for lower costs on monthly premiums and lower out-of-pocket costs based on your income. Coverage for lawfully immigrants. Well, let's see. If your annual income is above 400% of the federal poverty level, you may still qualify for premium tax credits that lower your monthly premium for a 2022 marketplace health insurance plan. I don't know. I don't know all the ins and outs of his life partner's situation. Is applying for a green card. Green card and other visa applicants will need to prove they have health insurance within 30 days of entering the United States. I don't know. The answer is, I don't know. Thank you, England DG. OFAC for one. He should know this. OFAC? Okay, what is OFAC? I'm learning things as we go. The Office of Foreign Assets Control. Aha. The Department is the Treasury Administrators. Okay. As part of its enforcement efforts, the Office of Foreign Assets Control publishes a list of individuals and companies owned or controlled by. Yeah, that's separate. Okay. OFAC green card insurance. I don't know. I do not know. Yeah, so maybe there is. I mean, it again, if he's and England makes a good point here. He should know the answer to that question. I mean, both of them are insurance professionals. If she's unable to get insurance that she herself is authorized to sell because she's on a green card, then why doesn't he know why? If there's not a law, then it must be some kind of weird company policy. And if it's a company policy, why isn't he saying it's a company policy? If it's an industry policy, why isn't he advocating for that policy to be changed across the industry? England again, it's PNC and life insurance that has restrictions. Okay, well, but I mean, whatever the case, as England says, he should know the answer to this. So why is he asking that question?
World of the United States prohibits a person like that from getting it, that insurance, and you can't give me one. And yet I'm CEOs of big companies stand in front of me to tell me that they're not going to do it because of.
Because of what?
And so I think there's the challenges of ignorance that we have.
No. Dude, okay. Either they are restricted by law or they are self-restricted by policy. It's one or the other. Okay, so what is the reason given? If you're going to throw something out like that, you must know whatever. I mean, even if the answer is not reasonable, right? Even if the answer is unfair, you must know at least what the answer they give is. So why aren't you telling us?
To overcome, they're manifold, not just by race or gender, but just look at our industry and how we judge things.
Apparently, you judge things on the basis of race, like the previous speaker.
From our eyes. And so I think that there's many opportunities when you look from that perspective. So whatever you take on as your vision and mission of a better world, because we are entrepreneurial, at least in spirit. And so I believe that's what lends to finding our marketplaces and leaning into diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Uh-huh.
April, I think much like you, I followed my passion. I didn't set out to build a practice that was focused on any particular type of person, but.
And ideally, you shouldn't, because everyone deserves the opportunity to have financial advice and insurance, I think.
Because I followed my why, because I was passionate about certain things. For those of you that know my story, you know that I was focused on really helping women.
Wait. I wasn't really focused on helping a particular type of person, but I was really focused on helping women. Good gravy. Why can't you just... Is financial literacy and insurance something that everyone should have access to regardless of what they look like or not? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, why continually come across and elevate particular demographics as your focus? Why? You know, if you're talking about class, if you're saying like, you know, the lower class don't have the same kind of access to this information or to these services as the higher classes do. Hey, I'll be all on board for that one because, you know, class knows no color or gender or anything else. But you're not talking about that. Why aren't you talking about that?
But then I was also focused. I come from New Mexico, and in my community, there are quite a few Hispanics and Native Americans. And so I built my personal practice working with them because I am passionate about that. I know what it is like.
And because they are part of the residents of the community in which you work, I think it would be unavoidable. If that, I don't know if I should mark that as some sort of like point in your moral favor, or if that's just the pragmatic nature of your customer base.
To not get that financial literacy, to not know where to turn and what to do in certain situations. And we know that women and people stay in bad situations and bad relationships because they are not empowered financially.
Not just women. People. Okay, that's a whole other subject. Anybody can be a victim of somebody lording over them with power they do not possess. Doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter their gender, relationship, or anything else. Okay.
And so it was very important for me to take what I knew and to use that. And so
Yes.
what I did was I started getting out into the community. And I think, Suzanne, you asked, what did we do? How did we follow our passion and our why to get to where we're at now? And I got out there and I just was myself. I was my authentic self, and I found my tribe, and they were attracted to me. And so now,
Well, like you found your actual tribe, or are we talking about like metaphorical tribe? Because you mentioned Native Americans in your speech there. Again, am I supposed to mark this in the column of your moral rectitude, or were you just seeking a customer base within the area in which you operated? And certainly, if you can find underserved or otherwise untapped areas of your community to find customers, I'm not going to blame you for that one. But is that a halo around your head, or is it just good business sense?
we do a little bit more structured financial literacy. I do the Friday morning talk radio show on the AM talk radio, and I do Financial Friday news, and I talk from the heart. I can talk up here, but I don't. I talk something that's relatable, and people are
I could talk up here, but I know the people I'm talking to are pretty dumb. That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I could talk up here, but I lower the standards of who I think I'm talking to.
drawn to that, and so that's served me well. Now, serving as an executive for a $30 million company, I have my practice, but I am also charged with helping other advisors to find their why, to follow their passion.
To find their why. Okay, making a mix of one, another thing, or both. Making a living and having a successful career, and or helping other people. Those are the whys. That's basically it. When you're in a services company or a services position or something, it's one, the other, or a combination of both. If you don't have either of those things in mind, then maybe you should find a different career. I don't find their why. That just sounds so pretentious.
To find their tribe.
But literally or figuratively, given the communities you work with.
And that is really a big part of what I do day in, day out. And it's amazing to do what you love and help others to then do what they love. And, as a result, the Gateway was honored by Investment News as the top DEI champion in the country.
Oh, I don't know if that'll be a badge of honor in the near future. I really don't. The way the winds are blowing legally and socially, I don't know that that'll be something you'd want to tout 2, 3, or 4 years from now.
So one of the top companies. And I think that if you follow your why and if you follow your passion, you will make a difference. Not everybody has the financial literacy and the knowledge that we have, and we have to share that because there are underserved communities in all different aspects. And so it's not necessarily about a different aspect of our community. It's about your passion.
Okay. Again, I come back to the truism. Financial literacy in this country is not hyped up and not promoted as much as it needs to be and should be across the board. Doesn't matter what demographic we're talking about. Okay. And as it's to some extent, it might already be too late for large swaths of the population. But as the population ages into retirement, both now and obviously each year going forward, having an investment plan of some kind to supplement whatever little bit you may or may not get from the government once you reach retirement age is vital. So, yeah, anybody who currently does not have some kind of investment plan, some kind of retirement account, an IRA, a Roth IRA, mutual fund, something for the long term, it is important to start looking into those things yesterday. Even something as simple as a savings account at your bank can be worthwhile if you've got no other options. But really, yes, financial literacy. If nothing else comes out of this talk, the idea that more people need opportunities and exposure to financial literacy education, that I agree with. All this other division and demarcation of lines and who should get it and who shouldn't and who should have a benefit based on what they look like, nah. But I'll take what I can get, however thin the silver lining is.
Sometimes I have to pinch myself to think that I'm just sitting here. It's just incredible.
Sometimes you have to pinch yourself. Okay, can you guys? I'm looking at his candy cane tie right now. Anyway, boy, the muffling is bugging me. I'm trying to be as quiet as I can on my end because it's starting to become a strain here.
And I want to thank everybody that's up here because each person sitting next to me has impacted me significantly, and that's just need to start and say we all need to be extremely grateful for NAFA. Look at this room.
Oh my God, dude, you sound like such a suck up. I'm sorry. We have to be extremely grateful for NAFA. Look at this room.
Amazing people, talented professionals we have in this room.
Yes.
So just thanks for tolerating me. I am a native Washingtonian, so I think that there's another whoop out there. There's like two of us, right? Everybody in DC is not from DC. So.
Oh, I think the sound boost I did just kicked in. I was like, boy, this is going to be rough. And all of a sudden the volume shot up. Okay.
There we go. We're good.
Sixth generation. Yeah.
There we go. So DC, as most of you who have just walked around outside for all of 5 minutes, is a fairly diverse city. And so growing up, I always had this sense that, you're only as good as the community that you work in and represent. And that means all parts of that community.
You're only as good as the community you work in and represent. Okay.
And so coming into this industry, it was, I guess I never had a vision that didn't account for the fact that I wanted any kind of practice that I had to be reflective of the community that I was in.
Well, any practice you are in or have will be reflective of the community you're in because that's your client base. Unless you're discriminating your clients on the basis of some, I don't know, non-determinative factor or something. But of course, nobody on the stage would do that. I'm just saying, I keep coming back to this. The community reflects your client base because those are the people that are, anyway.
That if it's an entirely diverse demographic makeup, then I need to be intentional and have all parts of that makeup represented on some level. And so I think the first market that really...
Wait. Do you mean within your own practice? Because that sounds like hiring discrimination. Let me back up a little bit just because I want to make sure I understood that if I can.
Plus, right? Everybody in DC is not from DC. So there we go. We're good.
Sixth generation. Yeah.
There we go. So DC, as most of you who have just walked around outside for all of 5 minutes, is a fairly diverse city. And so growing up, I always had this sense that, you're only as good as the community that you work in and represent. And that means all parts of that community. And so coming into this industry, it was, I guess I never had a vision that didn't account for the fact that I wanted any kind of practice that I had to be reflective of the community that I was in. That if it's an entirely diverse demographic makeup, then I need to be intentional and have all parts of that makeup represented on some level. And so I think the first market that really was foundational and seminal for me was the LGBTQ market. And
Okay. I'm not having a hard time understanding him verbally or something. I'm having a hard time understanding what he's talking about. So it sounded like because of the makeup of the community around him, he needs to have that represented in his practice or just amongst his clientele, because I think the latter one there would just be sort of reflexive. It's like, well, the people in your area would be the people that would be your customer base, but okay. Unless he's talking about hiring practices, like in his own personal practice, he's hiring people to quote unquote reflect / represent the community, then that's not any better.
And this takes me back to my banker days, my former past life, getting into the industry, where I was fortunate enough to actually open a branch right in the heart of DuPont Circle, and develop just a lot of relationships in that area. And it was incredible when you go and just are authentic and are in a community and you're there to care. You're not there to market.
You're very, very strident at that point. Just so you know, I'm not there to market. I'm there to care. I'm not there to market. I'm there to care. Again, what is your why again? Right? It's either business or service or a combination thereof. Okay, so he's all about service. He's all about service. He's not there to market. He's there about service.
You're not there to find sales or generate leads.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. If you're in sales, you're there to define sales and to generate leads. Yes, you are there. You may indeed have other altruistic motives in serving that function, but you don't keep your job very long as a salesperson, as an accounts manager, if you're not finding leads and making sales. Okay, dude. Not every business person is an inherent devil, okay? But business does not come with a built-in halo either. All right, just saying.
There to be a member of the community and to see the community thrive. The community embraced me. It was amazing.
The community embraced you. Well, good for you. I bet you feel very proud.
I joined the Equality Chamber now. At the time, it was the Capillary Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. And within a handful of years, I was able to be not just on the board, but the vice president of that organization.
Wait. It used to be hold on. It used to be what? And then it was the Equality Chamber? Probably because the first title was a bit too exclusionary. Hold on.
Find sales or generate leads. You're there to be a member of the community and to see the community thrive.
Yes. The
community embraced me. It was amazing. I joined the Equality Chamber now. At the time, it was the Capillary Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce.
Capital Area Lesbian Gay Chamber of Commerce. I think I got that right. I'm not quite sure, but something to that effect. Okay, so now it's the Equality Chamber.
Within a handful of years, I was able to be not just on the board, but the vice president of that organization as, a heterosexual white male from Chevy Chase.
Wow. Great. As a heterosexual white male, you ended up on the Equality Chamber. I mean, why wouldn't you? Well, of course, you joined when it was the gay, lesbian, whatever. Okay.
So, it was something that it doesn't really matter. I think sometimes we make things a little more complicated.
Did they change the name because of you? Did they change the name to the Equality Chamber because they could no longer legitimately just call themselves isolated by sexual orientation? That'd be funny. Did you push for that by any chance? I don't know. You're on the board. You're the vice president.
And we need to when it comes to how do we go about running a really good practice that has these types of things as a part of our DNA? And so I'll touch on a little bit more about that when we get into strategies, but yeah, that's always been a community that's been near and dear to my heart. And yeah.
Okay, so you work for, or you volunteer at or something, the Equality Chamber, which by itself, that word doesn't have any connotation of a particular demographic. In fact, it implies all demographics, but you're really focused on that community because reasons, I guess. Okay. Man, the sound quality, I tell you. Of all the quality, there's equality, then there's sound quality.
Evelyn.
So I'd like to continue with what Chris opened up with in terms of financial literacy piece.
Yes.
My parents are first generation immigration who came to this country to work very hard. And they have many brothers and sisters. My dad was one of 18. My mom is one of 14.
18 brothers and holy cats. 18 and 14. Jeez.
So when I came into the business, they asked for a natural market. All I had to do was kind of take out the family book, right? Because I had a lot of people to be able to talk to. But when
yeah, no, that's my very, very brief brush with the insurance industry. I almost worked in the insurance industry. I got quite the block of advice from somebody. I was in the waiting room for an interview, and somebody who had been working there for, I guess, a year or something at that point just happened to be there. And for whatever reason, my waiting time was taking a while. And so I got to talking to this guy. And, I asked him, like, oh, how do you like it here? That kind of thing. And he's like, yeah, man, it's a tough business. But, first thing you want to do. And it was almost like I'd flipped a switch and suddenly he was a life coach or something. It was just automatic. And I just wondered, does he have the opportunity to talk to people normally or something? Anyway, so the first thing you want to do is when you get this job, you have a quota you got to fill and you got certain benchmarks you got to hit. So the easiest thing to do is start calling your friends and your family and your relatives and everything. And, they're usually the easiest sells, right? And I just remember him saying that they're the easiest sells. And I just thought, already I feel dirty. Already I feel a little smarmy here. And, I didn't end up taking the job. I was offered the job. It was the most weird interview I'd ever had. I was sitting there and the person interviewing me was at the desk. And behind her was this other woman who was maybe about my age or a little bit. This is back when I was in my mid-20s. And she was about my age, maybe a little younger. And she was standing there with her arms folded, looking at me with this death glare. And I didn't know if this, I was sitting there, I was dressed nice. I was answering questions. I had my resume there, the whole 9 yards. And I didn't know if this was going to be some kind of like good cop, bad cop kind of thing that was coming. But no, she never said a word. I found out later that hers was the position I was interviewing for. And unless her position was filled, she could not be promoted. So I wondered after that little meeting, how many interviews had she sat or stood through waiting for somebody to take the bait so she could finally get that higher paying position and get out of whatever this was. And it was just such a bizarre setup. It was such a bizarre place. And that was my only professional encounter with the insurance industry. And in both instances, talking to the guy in the waiting room and then going through the interview process, I was not enamored. I was not enamored with it. Anyway, let me back up a little bit because she was talking about her family again.
Into the business, they asked for a natural market. All I had to do was kind of take out the family book, right? Because I had a lot of people to be able to talk to. But one of the things I recognized through that process was that in the Latino community, making these types of decisions is a family decision. And it was a family decision because oftentimes I had to switch between being able to speak Spanish and being able to also have the conversations with their children in English became somewhat of the challenge, but also the opportunity as well.
Uh-huh.
So for the last 30 years, my focus has been twofold. One,
You're 30 years. Okay, you've been 30 years in the business. And talking to specific communities, specific cultures, has a specific sort of mindset you have to enter into. Okay, that's perfectly legitimate, sure. Okay, so what has been your focus for the last 30 years?
the last 30 years, my focus has been twofold. One has been really providing education and being a resource to the Latino community.
Uh-huh.
And on the other side of this is also servicing and being a resource to half of our population, which is the women's market, right?
Right. So racial and gender bias. Okay.
And my role is dual, not only as a practitioner with clients, but also in trying to develop my team. So I always believe that attracting, developing, and advancing that next generation of advisor, whether it's someone coming fresh out of college, maybe they're disenchanted with corporate life, or it's that career changer who's looking for that pivot for that next career, has been really critical for me. So,
Okay, well, absent any further details, unless you're just, focusing those opportunities and that education on a specific type of person, which I can suspect, but either way, okay. Again, if you removed all of this racial and or sexual orientation bias out of all of these, like all of this stuff makes sense to me. Like I said, financial literacy, investment planning, finding people that either don't have this knowledge or need that kind of assistance or could use that kind of assistance and offering it to them for opportunities. All that makes sense. Why do we have to put in the racial component? I mean, your specific experience based on where you live and simply the population demographics of the people around you, that's fine. Like I said, that's your client base. I don't know why that has to be something like it's a feather in your cap or something. It's not like you did that. Right? It just happened to be where you were in the country, what demographics you have around you as potential clients. There you go. But that's not an accomplishment on your part. And trying to crusade on the basis of race or orientation or something. No, if you were crusading on the basis of need, regardless of what the person looked like, I'd have very little to say. Why do you have to split everything up on the basis of race, ethnicity, or otherwise? Right. Now, our current speaker makes a good point about culture, as did our first speaker to a certain extent. There are certain cultures that have certain ways of looking at things and making decisions and so on. It's more of a family affair than it is an individual decision, that kind of thing. Okay, that's perfectly fair. And having that kind of knowledge, having that kind of specialization, great. But outside of that, why not champion need over aesthetics?
those are the two markets. Now, in terms of influence, once I make up my mind about something, I'm all in.
I can believe it.
So the one word that came to mind when I thought about, where my influence came from, it was just real simple: getting involved.
Wow.
Whether it was at the local level or at the national level. If I was passionate about women in the industry, well, my goal was to become president of WIFS, which I accomplished in 2016.
Wow. You decide. So wait a sec. You made a decision, you set a goal, and you set out to achieve that goal. Good.
If I want to be up on Capitol Hill, well, then the next goal is to be a trustee for NAFA as well.
Okay, and you're working towards that goal. You made a decision, you took the initiative. Okay. Is this something that Is this a power that only you possess?
So for me, influence is all about getting involved, making
Uh-huh.
up your mind that perhaps there's not been someone before you that has stepped up.
Oh, but I've been told over and over and over and over and over and over and over again that if I don't see someone who looks like me in a particular position, I can't imagine myself in that position. However did you do it?
But as the first diversity champion, I believe that it is absolutely an honor and a responsibility to be able to pull up the next group of individuals who kind of lead the charge.
Because they can't pull themselves up, unlike you, who pulled yourself up by setting a goal and working towards it. And right, okay.
So Evelyn, we need to fix the debt ceiling.
We need to fix the debt ceiling?
So if you want you put your mind to that, we can fix that. That'd be great. So
Okay, that must be financial humor, because I mean, I understand at least abstractly what the debt ceiling is, but okay.
so in our prep call, we spent a lot of time talking about the check the box versus moving the needle.
Well, I'm at least glad that you acknowledge the big question mark in the room. Yeah.
And we want to keep it practical. So as we kind of wrap up this session, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. But
Okay.
can we go through, and I'm going to reverse order on some of you and
Uh-huh.
ask you, what's the one thing, because all of you are champions, ostensibly leaders, you're out there, right? You got this award because of the work that you've done that's impactful. That actually one of our, from the Office of the President, one of our past presidents actually said, you know, this shouldn't even have a nomination process. It should be so evident who should win it because of what you're doing out in the marketplace, right? If you're leading, you're leading.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Skip the foreplay. Get to the question. I want to know that this is a good question. I want to know it's a question that I would ask. Come on.
So in looking at our audience here, what's the one thing that you could give to our audience to say they could go and make an impact today and take home with them to make it practical? So April, and I'll start with you.
Not quite the question I would ask, but okay, yes. You are all DEI, you are all workplace development and marketplace development champions, because we're trying to move away from those words because they've been weaponized, remember everyone. What's one thing you would advise people to do so they too can possibly just get a whiff of the champion-ishness that you possess when it comes to DEI?
I think that empowerment, when you find your authentic self and you know who you are, you know the direction that you're going on, when you Lily,
when I find my why,
begin with the end in mind, and then you are able to better direct where you're going. And if you know yourself and you know the direction that you're going to be able to help others to do that. And I think that you have to learn how to empower first yourself and then learn how to empower others. So if you are authentic, you're fascinating, you're interesting, you have something to share that is your unique value proposition,
yes,
that you do actually share, you have to be vulnerable, then you can better help others to do the same.
Boy, what is my unique value proposition? How do I convince somebody that I have value? I don't know. These are very deep questions. Very deep questions. Okay, so first and foremost, I have to find my authentic self. Then I have to find my passion and my direction. And once I have my authentic self, my passion and my direction, I can lead others or help others towards their own. Okay. All right. So all I have to do is decide or discover what is my purpose in life. That's all I have to do. Oh, okay. I'll start working on that.
So if you are vulnerable, then you can share your story to the degree that it's appropriate.
To the degree that it's appropriate. Well, if I'm not sharing my story in its entirety, am I being authentic? If I'm holding back, if I'm withholding elements of myself from people in the professional space, am I really being authentic?
And you can help them to be their best selves.
So I'm a life coach. Is that what I'm aiming for? What if being a life coach isn't my purpose or my passion? Right? What if being a life coach isn't my unique value add? What do I do then?
So whether that's transparency and
What?
helping them to double down on who they are, I think that a lot of times we're here to discuss this today, but a lot of times we want to homogenize people. We want for them to be similar. And when I first got
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that amongst your peers on the stage. They want to homogenize people. They want them to be similar. They want to service only the communities that they feel they belong to because of aesthetics. Now, I got that part. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
we want for them to be similar. And when I first got onto national boards and whatnot in leadership, I thought that I had to look like the person, the gentleman next to me.
Well, did you cut your hair and put on a pair of pants and grow a mustache or something? You really thought that you had to look like the gentleman next to you? Are you talking about? Are you talking about Steven? You talking about the bald guy from Hawaii? What do you mean?
And that's not possible.
Now, excuse me. Gender is just a social construct, and the fluidity of your gender identity should not be discounted. Now, come on now, get with the times.
And I was not as powerful as I am now, and I was trying to be somebody else.
Who are you trying? What? I don't even know. I don't even know how to respond to that.
So I had to learn how to find my inner strength and to find my power and be myself so that I can share my perspective, because my perspective is valuable and important. And when I do that,
so you say. I mean, don't get me wrong. Having self-confidence is great. Having a sense of certitude and infallibility about the value of what you have to say in any given situation, not necessarily so. It all depends on the circumstances and the setting. But okay.
I make a difference not only for myself but for those that come after me. We have a challenge, and we have a necessity to not only do what we do for ourselves, but for those that come after us.
You have a very, very highly defined sense of yourself. I will give you that.
We drink from wells that we did not dig.
We drink from wells we did not dig. This is true. Yes. What then is okay? I could go on.
Chris?
I would say the key for me, and I think the key for everyone, that I think if you could take and just become the narrative of change.
Become the narrative of change. Okay, by giving financial advantages to specific racial demographics. Right?
It's okay. I think we shy away from the things that aren't natural to us, and
we shy away from the things that are not natural to us. Like what?
And that narrative being that narrative. So if that's hey, let's come up with a great idea that's unique, that's opportunistic. I joke all the time because Suzanne says, hey, we need Christianity to go do this, or we need Christianity to do this. So literally, one day I showed her my calendar. She goes, you're really NAFA committed.
What? I didn't understand what he said. Let me go back.
That's opportunistic. I joke all the time because Suzanne says, hey, we need Christianity to go do this, or
we need I hear him saying we need Christianity to go do this. I don't think that's what he's saying, but that's what it sounds like.
We need Christianity to do this. So literally, one day I showed her my calendar. She goes, you're really NAFA committed.
NAFA committed. Okay. I forget his first name. Maybe it's Christian. Maybe I'm muddling things in my head. I don't know.
That morning we had a call, and then I was on Lily call. I was on Lily for 3 hours, and then
You were on Lily for 3 hours? I hope she's okay.
We had a membership call. There was a committee, and she goes, "No, literally, how?" And
What?
my whole thing is, I'm blessed and fortunate to be up here.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I'm from Kankakee, Illinois. I never thought that I could make more than what my mother made, which was $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
And so every day I wake up, I have this like imposter syndrome kind of concept of like, are they really going to pay me to talk to people?
Yeah, let's talk about imposter syndrome for a second. Having to wonder if maybe an opportunity or a position or something has befallen you, not because you earned it, but because you are a particular thing, or you fall within a particular demographic, or you check somebody else's box. And what were you saying earlier about what kinds of business owners you would end up giving advantages to or making donations on behalf of?
And that's essentially how I've looked at it. So, this is such a blessing that I think everyone, if we took it as an opportunity to say we're going to be the narrative of change that we want to see in this world.
Uh-huh.
I just remember my mother saying to me that you don't have to be all things to everybody, but you need to be something to somebody. And if you focus on doing that, then you are the change that people would like to see. And so I love every relationship that I'm able to create.
But some you love more than others because of aesthetics. You already told us.
You guys know the people that are in this room. Many of you have called me and asked me, hey, come speak and talk about basketball and inspire our people to be great and do all this wonderful things.
Oh, basketball. That seems a little stereotypical.
And I go. And so I don't say no. And so that's part of service over self. And I know by doing that, 1, I'm a better person. 2, the people around me are better. 3, I learn from all of you in doing that. And also I get a chance to build my NAFA family and relationships, which, you guys are my family at this point. And I spend more time with you than I do my real family. So
That's kind of sad.
Brian?
Let me 2 questions.
Oh.
If not now, when?
Oh, jeez.
And
if not me, who?
if not us, who?
Oh, not us, who? Okay. Well, I mean, you are in the equality chamber.
And I've always asked myself those 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
As far back as I can remember, my dad asked me those questions growing up. It's a part of our family dynamic. And I can't imagine a more pivotal time to be asking and answering those questions. And so I think it is crucial that everybody understands that just developing your community relationships more intentionally is probably the best and most effective strategy. If there's someone here,
I would love to develop my community relationships unintentionally. As a banker, as a financial advisor, as somebody who has to go out there and build a practice, boy, oh boy, wouldn't it be great if you could build relationships unintentionally? You just didn't have to put any work into it. I mean, I love that strategy. Oh, but the real golden nugget here, you have to develop these relationships intentionally. Well, boy, the light has dawned. The light bulb went off. Man, you mean I actually have to target specific demographics, communities, or individuals to make a sales pitch? I don't just, trip over a rock and sell a piece of insurance. Golly gee, thanks, man.
here that's wondering,
Yeah, what do I do?
step 1, don't have to have a practice that's reflective of markets that you might not have connections to.
Don't think you have to have a practice that doesn't have connections to markets you might not have.
But there is an underrepresented market in every geographic location in the United States of America.
Yes, there are business opportunities everywhere. You just have to go out there and find them intentionally.
So the question really should be, a lot of the other, not just people up here, but a lot of the other prior speakers have talked about this, develop those friendships, right? Find those relationships.
No, let's not call them markets, everybody. No. I mean, we're supposed to go away from DEI and go to market development. No, friendship development. You're not a client. You're not a source of income. No, you're a friend. You're my friend. Friendship development. Now just sign here and pay your premiums on time every month, friend. Oh, friendo.
In your community, and do so with intention, do so with the desire to be a change agent.
A change agent. Oh, I'm not an insurance agent. I'm a change agent. Oh boy, remember Agents of Change? You guys remember that TEDx? Long time ago. Yeah, Agents of Change. That was one of my favorite TEDx's. It was so nonsensical. Ugh.
We can all make money doing the right things, but we don't have to go in thinking that I have to go do this to make money.
Yes, you're running a business, okay? You're not running a charity. And I really hope you're not selling insurance to people that can't afford it, because we had kind of had an experience a little bit with that way back in 2008 or something. But anyway, okay, again, being in business does not necessarily make you evil, right? But it also doesn't come with a halo either. You can do good things and help people through your business and your services. It's true. But unless you're running a charity, there is a bottom line, and everybody on this stage has a bottom line to think about. So forgive me if I can't see you as anything other than perhaps a benevolent mercenary. All right? Come on.
We should do that because we are the face of the financial industry. If money is the number one thing that people get divorced over, it's the number one stressor in the United States of America, we have the amazing opportunity to change lives on a scale I don't think we connect to.
So wait, you can solve divorce. You hear that, everybody? Everybody on that stage has the power to cure divorce. Oh boy. Thank you, England DG. Pay me $300 to file your 1040EZ, friend. Also, here's some roadside assistance for $100 that cost me $5 as an unregulated product. Friend. I know, right? I mean, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man who just kind of swings into town and solves crime and saves people and doesn't stay around for any thanks or anything. Yeah, that's a friend. That's a friendly friend, right? A public servant like the old-time beat cops whose pay did not rise or lower any particular way based on how many crooks they busted or anything. They might get recognition for it, but otherwise they didn't have a profit motive unless they were completely corrupt. That might be a friend. You could see someone as friendly like that. Someone from the neighborhood who comes back to sort of police the place, that kind of thing. Insurance agents, financial advisors, yeah, maybe they don't take too much of a cut. Maybe their percentage is low. Maybe that's part of their sales pitch. You know, our percentage is the lowest in the industry or something like that. Or we don't make money unless you make money, something like that. I've seen those things before. But let's not pretend that there's no profit motive. Let's not pretend that your client is your friend. That is, things get real iffy real quick when you start thinking about people in those terms in a business arrangement. There's a balancing act there, because what happens when the friend doesn't pay up? What do you do with this friend? What if this friend is late in making the payments and says, hey, friend, I'm just running a bit behind. Can you give me some time? Well, how long does that friendship hold after that? Anyway, there's 4 minutes left on this. I'm going to let it run through.
And so, I hope that there's an encouragement in there, that it doesn't have to be something that you think is this far cry, this stretch. Taking putting one foot in front of the other right outside your door will lead you down places you probably never thought possible.
Are you just like a Hallmark card factory or something? I heard a lot of platitudes, a lot of little sayings and things. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't develop relationships with your clients where you care about their well-being and their outcomes and everything. I'm not saying that it's an entirely heartless endeavor, but there's a line. There's always a line, and that's called professional distance and professional understanding, and that has to be there. And don't think so highly of yourself that you start seeing yourself as a savior or some kind of saint or something. Just
Evelyn?
I think the first thing is to really recognize that moving into this space, if it's the first time that you're doing it or you're doing something different, there requires a certain amount of courage and acknowledgement that you're going to experience some discomfort.
It's called work, of course.
And once you can walk yourself through that, I think the important thing is to really decide, what are you committing to?
I know it's not the same industry by any stretch of the imagination, but when I think of like insurance salesmen, I can't help but think of the movie and the play Glengarry Glen Ross, and just how tough a market and a business that can be to try to cold call people and sell them on something, a policy, this, that, or the other. That's kind of what I imagine. I know that's not reflective of everybody or anything or the industry, but that's just what's come to mind. Thank you again, England DG. Auto agents get 10 to 15% give or take. Normally something like 12% on new, 10% on renewal. Now you get Geico, save 10 to 15% or more. However, this isn't a markup by the agent. It's part of the producer agreement. Right. I mean, it's all, they're making something. Right? Everybody on that stage is not 100% altruistic. They're not running charities. And like I say, maybe their focus is on helping people, and the business is just the mechanism by which they can help people. And of course, there's a bottom line. They have a business to run and everything else. And I can't read their minds. I don't know their hearts, so to speak. Maybe the money doesn't mean anything, but maybe they give away most of their income as charity to other people or something else over the course of the year, and they just take what they need and continue to service the community. That's perfectly fine. But they're talking about it in such high-minded terms that it's almost beyond reason to me. It's almost so self-serving and self-aggrandizing. And it's like, you guys, yes, financial literacy is important. If you can bring that to people, you are a better person than most. If it's useful advice, helping people get the help they need when insurance comes around, or, fortifying their belongings or their life or their family's futures and things like that. Certainly all good things. But at the end of the day, and also with the theme constantly promoted on this panel of dividing people up on the basis of their race as though it were a mark of value, as to who you will or deserves to be served more than others. Yeah.
And what does that look like? I know for me, as I think about the next 12 to 15 years of what I want to accomplish in this industry, I want to be able to look back and create a legacy of individuals that look like me.
You were so close to saying something entirely good there. You were so close, and then I heard some syllables drop, and I knew, nope, we are right back. We're right back to where we started. But anyway,
and create a legacy of individuals that look like me, think like me, that I can look back and say, I remember that first initial conversation I had with them about the career, or that first conversation I had about planning, and look where they are.
I want to create a legacy of people who look like me, think like me. What was the D in DEI supposed to mean again?
That would be my legacy to the industry. So I would say, understand that there's going to be a level of discomfort.
A level of discomfort over planned conformity. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess there would be a level of discomfort.
Yes. You've got to be a little courageous in this journey.
Oh, yeah. Planning ahead to make sure that you're only going to help out and you're only going to venerate and you're only going to support people who look like you and think like you. Boy, that's courage. Profiles in courage. I tell you what. England, again, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. This is so generous of you. Average auto in my state for non-standard is around $1,600 6-month term. That's $192 for the new policy term and $160 for the renewal. Thanks for $352, friend. Send me more friends. Yeah. It's a business. It's a business. It all requires money. Yeah. Everybody who wants to drive a car, they need auto insurance. It's required of them. All right. You can't avoid it. So you have a captive market right there. Everybody who has a car is going to need your services in one way, shape, or form. And you can either sell them on something new or you're going to try to take the business away from somebody else. Everybody needs it. It's a great setup, to have something that's mandated by law that everybody has to have, and you just happen to have it to sell. Yes. Come here, friend. Yeah, I forget what his name is, but Candy Stripe Tie. Boy, he has a lofty vision of himself and of others, I guess.
But then decide what are you committed to, and then seek out those resources that you need to get to that level. Seek out the individuals.
You don't care about individuals. You care about aesthetics. You don't care about individuals. You want your legacy to be people that look and think like you. What's individualistic about that? That's conformist. That's sameness. There's no individuality there. You want clones.
Have conversations so that you can have a better understanding. So that would be my suggestions.
All right, Stephen, let's bring us home.
Yeah, I love all the commentaries.
You do? You have my sympathies.
So much brilliance on this stage.
Yeah. Oh man, everybody on this stage is just absolutely incandescent.
Just fascinated by it all. And but I guess if you really listen to it all, there's an undertone of passion, passionate resolve. I mean, it's not all fun and games here, but it's meaningful. And I think that's a real thing I would call out is to engage. And don't just connect. Don't, as we're talking about checking off the boxes, right? Yes. Whatever it is that moves your, floats your boat, if you will, right? The vision.
Whatever it is that floats my boat. Okay.
Vision that you have of the better world that you want to change because of the missions that you'll dedicate and commit yourself. That's the thing we get started with, right? So it's understanding first, and then appreciating. And appreciating means you got to go learn. And I'm learning each and every day. I'm learning all through this conference.
You're learning what words not to say out loud because that's incorrect. Of everybody on the stage, as far as like backstories and everything, I probably find Stephen. I see a Stephen now. And yeah, okay, his name is Chris. Okay, maybe it's short for Christian. Maybe that's what he was saying. Hey, Christian. Maybe that's what I was hearing because it sounded kind of odd. But anyway, okay. Stephen's story, like he comes from Hawaii. He comes to the mainland. He starts saying things that have no particular meaning to him. They're not offensive in some way. They don't carry any particular weight. And he's immediately corrected. And now he's talking about understanding and get educated and so on. And I'm just like, I think, unfortunately, Stephen has come from a place where things were cool, right? And then he came to a place where everything has to be eggshell walked. And I think that's just sad. That's sad in a way. That as soon as he starts answering questions or starting to try to fit in with people, suddenly he's corrected and he's educated. And then that sense of casualness and, lack of importance on what particular word you use on a particular day for a thing went by the wayside. That seems sad to me.
I'm super excited about what's ahead. I've got a whole number of things that I need to think about and reconsider just from the conversations that we've had.
Again, I think that's an artifact of unfortunate political correctness.
And then I want to engage, but only until I understand and appreciate can I do that. Engaging is so much better than just connecting. Right? Be a part of it, because you are that important. We all have this light inside of us. And I think that unique light should shine. If we bring it all collectively out of us and shine it,
Uh-huh.
from the better place that we are, that we come from,
Right.
we'll be in a better place as a world.
Okay.
And I think that's what NAFA stands for. That's why I've been a dedicated member and I will be forever. And I hope that you'll join hands with all of us here on the stage to be that catalyst of change. Thanks for letting us share.
Well, thank you, champions.
Catalyst for change. Okay.
Audience, can we give them a big round of applause?
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, together we can take on anything. Wow, that's great. Well, yeah, there you go. That's the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors 8th Annual DEI Symposium. The champions, the previous winners of their Champions Award, save for one guy that couldn't make it. And there you go. England DG, who's a working professional. I'm in this industry, but this is disgusting. It's concerning to me, but it's also like, I mean, they keep talking about authenticity and everything. I didn't feel like this was authentic. I felt like this was self-aggrandizing. Like, okay, yes, there is a utility and a use to financial literacy. Yes, certainly. Yes, in various ways you are either required or should have insurance on different things depending on the circumstances, whether it's, home insurance or fire insurance or flood insurance, whatever. Yes. These are all things that would be good to have and or you are required to have in the case of, say, like, car insurance. And so, yes, you serve a function as an insurance or financial advisor. Yes. And certainly there are community long-term benefits to either financial literacy, estate planning, investment, making sure your insurance is all correct and up to date and everything else, and having knowledgeable people because, finances, taxes, insurance, laws, and everything else, they are absolute labyrinths. And, most people out there are not educated on how to navigate these things. And so people like our speakers on the stage have a purpose and have a utility to a lot of regular people's lives. And that's where it should begin and end. But now we have to have all of this division and we have to put a value on people's gender or something, or I want to leave a legacy of people in the industry who think like me and look like me. And by the way, if I work with a particular business owner, I'm then going to assess their value on their skin color. And if they're this way, well, whatever. But if they're this way, well, then I'll donate part of the proceedings back to the community. It's just, why have these extra bolt-ons? If you serve the community you're in, regardless of what they look like, why do you need to mention what they look like? The only thing that comes to mind out of that entire talk that sounded like a reasonable consideration, at least for the examples provided, was I went to this community and in this culture, decisions like this are not a one-on-one situation, but a family decision. And so you have more people you have to talk to and more people you have to convince and different generations who may speak a different language. All that was completely reasonable. It's like, okay, well, that's your market. Understand your market. Certainly. Okay. But outside of that, who cares? And it's not a completely benevolent endeavor. Right. It may serve a public good, and you may be facilitating that, certainly. And I'm not trying to discount the help that people that have this education and this expertise can bring. But there's a bottom line. Don't pretend like there's not. Advocast Diaboli, how about just let the world move if the way it would and not putting your thumb on the scale one way or the other, be hands off. Yeah. If the first speaker, Chris, if he says, I came from a background and a community and a lifestyle where none of this was talked about, this wasn't a concern. And as I grew up and as I learned more about it, I realized the importance of it. And I want to try to change that within the community I came from and communities like that. Okay, great. why then make it about race explicitly? I mean, that might just be a consequence of your experience and where you first go to try to bring that education, but then why not just make that a principle for everybody? Why do you then have to add on layers where you're taking into account people's race when making decisions about then financial benefits to other people? That's where it kind of goes off the rails for me. And there's all this relatively good stuff, but it has this extra layer of discrimination or specialization to it that just feels uncomfortable. But I guess I have to sit in my discomfort. Lexi Madge, you got it stuck in my head now, Shadowclaw. Uh-oh, what did Shadowclaw do? Scribe, thanks for getting Be Like You song stuck in my head. You. That one? Is that what you're thinking of? I don't want to sing it on the off chance that Disney comes after me, but if that's the one I'm thinking of and you're thinking of. Anybody else? Let's see. Let me get a couple more in here. Lisa Wilson, corporate requires this behavior so as to keep those social credit scores. We do not have a choice but to do these engagements and play the game. It's sick but true. That's the other thing that you have to remember, is that some of this is done with a proverbial firearm to the back of your head, right? Because ESG and DEI, those things are requirements. A lot of companies have to have an active DEI program in some way, shape, or form for no other reason than to say that they have one. Because a lot of other financial institutions out there, like Goldman Sachs, like BlackRock, and all these other places, they won't even consider you for business unless you meet certain standards. And one of those standards is having a DEI program and having it well placed and well advertised in your prospectus, on your website, in your business, etc. And so the legitimacy, this is the problem. The guy was talking earlier about imposter syndrome. Well, if you're forced to take on this veneer of DEI, if you're forced to have to make some kind of message or meaning out of people's aesthetics in order to satisfy your lord and masters up above somewhere in the darkest reaches of finance, is that legitimate? Are you just sort of play acting? Can we believe it if you're required to? Keeverdam, thank you so much. For you, friend. See, now I'm not quite sure how to take that one. After England's sort of diatribe on the thing, I'm like, are we friends? Thank you, Keeverdam, very much. Anyway, everybody, I've gone overtime. I really do appreciate what you guys have to say on this subject, but I've got to give my voice a rest and have some other things to do. Please, if I've missed something you've had to say in the chat, leave a comment afterwards once the stream is posted. Also, leave a like on the way out if you would. I'd appreciate that as well. Or a dislike. The sound quality on this thing was pretty bad, and I did my best. Also, before I go, a couple of things. First and foremost, again, at the top of the chat box, you take a look at the fundraiser for Twisted Skipster's friend, Tracy. Tracy just needs a little bit of help with some bills and life stuffs that's befallen her. And if you can take a look at that and donate, it's appreciated. If you can't donate, that's fine. If you can, share that link out on social media. I get too many S's in my head. I get alliteration going. That would also be very much appreciated. Also, I have a Discord server, if you didn't know, and there's a link in the chat to the Discord server. All you have to do there is click on that. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you also have to give the secret word for the stream that tells me and the moderators that you actually watch the show and thus are deserving, are entitled to becoming a member of the Discord server. And today's secret word is champion. Yes, champion. Champion is the secret word. So take a look at that if you would. That link will last a day. And with that, one more programming note before I wrap things up. Tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time will be the fifth installment of Book Review of the Vampire, where my friend Leonora and I are progressively reading through Interview with the Vampire, which she hasn't done in many, many years, and I never have, and just talking about it as we go. because I'm a vampire nerd, and it was like an experiment, and Leonora had never been on a live stream before, and it's just for fun. So if you're interested in that or curious, take a look at that. There's episodes on the channel as well for our previous installments. And with all that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated, I don't know what else to say, but thank you. Thank you so much for your generosity, whether it's to myself or to the fundraiser at the top of the chat box. I appreciate you guys showing up today. Hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. Hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.